Tifa isn't really a bartender. Being a bartender is certainly part of her story, but Final Fantasy VII needs for her to be a fighter, not a service worker. Fighting fits into stories conventionally told by video games. Most are about soldiers, cops, assassins, outlaws, and adventurers, because those are jobs that come with conflicts that easily map onto tried and true game mechanics. But the medium is evolving to include many mutations of what a game can be, and niche titles are more accessible than ever. It's in playing some of these niche titles that I found something that I felt was particularly interesting. It was on a playthrough of a game called Valhalla, a game about a woman named Jill, who is not a fighter, but a bartender. I was experiencing a game telling a story through service work. Valhalla's full name is Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Action. The game provides a catalog for the drinks and their recipes. If you get the orders correct, Jill will make money. She'll be able to pay her bills and buy the things she wants. It plays like a visual novel, in that the game doesn't require any skills of the player beyond literacy and attentiveness. It's not really interested in challenging your ability to serve. The full focus of the experience is instead on characters. As Jill, you show up to work each day waiting for customers to arrive. She is not an empty vessel. Newcomers and regulars alike will visit the bar, and Jill will react and respond to them as herself. She's probably the most normal character, making her the relatable anchor of the story. She is decently moral, intelligent, friendly, and inquisitive, but also beleaguered by her choices and life circumstances. The customers that visit the bar are often quite a bit more colorful and come from many different walks of life. There's a tabloid magnate, an AI sex worker, pop singer, cyborg bounty hunter, a brain in a jar. There's a talking Shiba Inu wearing aviator sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt. The whole game is serving drinks and having conversations with these characters about their lives. This is a bit in contrast to another cyberpunk bartending game, the Red Strings Club. In it, you're still serving drinks, but this time it's more in service to uncovering a central mystery. In addition to this, the contents of the drinks affect the mood of the customers. A character's mood makes them more or less receptive to your probing questions, so the game relies more heavily on reading into subtext and seeing if you can use alcohol and conversational skills to pry out as much information as you can. The Red Strings Club is a great game in its own right, but it doesn't quite have the same feel. In Valhalla, there is no ultimate goal, except good service and getting to know people. From time to time, you're presented with opportunities to show that you've been paying attention, and serve a drink you think the character wants in contradiction to their actual order. Making the correct decisions will result in a deepened friendship and bonus conversations. The tone and style of this game is most closely matched with Coffee Talk, except instead of serving alcohol to cyberpunk characters, you're serving coffee and tea to fantasy characters. The barista in this case is a fairly generic player-named character. They will converse with guests when needed, but the core of the story is carried by Freya, a writer and regular at the cafe. Coffee Talk takes place in Seattle, but a version where fantasy creatures such as elves and werewolves are normal citizens. In this game, the recipes are discovered by mixing and matching ingredients to achieve various flavor profiles. Plus, there's an option to create latte art, and I'm atrocious at it. But a service job game doesn't necessarily have to be about serving drinks though, as a game like NeoCab explores the role of a cab driver in the cyberpunk universe. Your character Lena is moving to live with her friend Savvy in Los Ojos. She works for NeoCab, which is an old-fashioned rideshare app that employs human drivers, as opposed to the competition Cabra, a major corporation that is trying to phase into fully self-driving cars. In the game, you select from several potential passengers on any given night. Having conversations isn't as easy as just picking dialogue options you want, however, as there's a mechanic called the feel grid that you have to consider. The feel grid is like a futuristic mood ring. As the conversations take certain turns, Lena will shift between several dominant emotional states. Going too far in any direction may restrict options. It's an interesting mechanic that may be the first time I've seen the emotional labor of a service job attempted in a game. Saying what you want and pleasing the customer may be at odds, but Lena has to keep her star rating high or risk losing her job. These games I mentioned differ in setting, playstyle, and aesthetic. But telling the story through a service job gives them all an interesting perspective on world building. All of these games are set in unfamiliar worlds, but we come to understand them through dialogue with the characters. A standard game where you play the hero, you can run around and seek out interactions wherever you desire. But as a service worker, you're tied to your job. You're stuck behind a counter or steering wheel. People come to you because they need whatever you're providing, and they may or may not be desirable to converse with. In Valhalla, you learn about how androids called Lilim work by talking to a sex worker about her body modifications, or you hear about the ups and downs of living in a city run by a megacorporation by watching two characters argue politics. In Coffee Talk, an elf and a succubus work through the strain their families are causing in their interracial relationship. Another customer explains to you how cosmetic companies are using unaging vampires in all their promotional images. Conversations in NeoCab can steer into ethical debates on art versus commercial interest, using facial mesh makeup to obscure your true appearance from a potential romance, or how awful it is for a parent to lock their child inside a mech to ensure their safety. My favorite passengers were the tourists that were so convinced that Lena was a lifelike robot installed in a self-driving car, they insisted on giving her a test similar to the Voight-Kampff test in Blade Runner to see if she was human. I did not convince them. The point I'm making here is that the unique perspective these stories give us by putting us in the shoes of service workers is that we learn about the world through meeting characters. A wide variety of characters from all different walks of life. They each have their own storylines with their own problems to overcome. We only see them for those brief moments their lives intersect with ours, and they have a chance to unload their thoughts and feelings onto us. It's world building by way of painting the portrait of a community. We're not simply reading facts from an article. The details are communicated to us through anecdotes from the mouths of characters, colored by all the perspectives, emotions, and opinions they bring to the table. I walked away from these games not with a sense that this is a better way to tell a story, but it's a point of view that I don't see too often. I'm not saying every game should try for this style. There are plenty of great games with traditional stories. All I'm saying is that if Tifa was a bartender instead of a fighter, that could have been interesting too. I want to give an extra special thank you to Michael Kelly, the composer of the fantastic soundtrack to Valhalla. He responded so quickly to give me permission to use the music for my video. I'm including a link to his Bandcamp page where you can purchase the music from this game and the other works that he's created. Please go check it out. It's definitely worth your time. Thank you.